This is Corey Pierce of God Forbid and Disciples of Verity, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Hello.
Corey, how the hell are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing all right.
Remember me?
From years ago, yes.
You cooked some smash burgers or stuffed burgers on the show
Yeah,
years and years ago.
with cheese.
Yeah. Hey, do you have video?
Yeah, for some reason my picture's coming up. I'm trying to get the video to shut on. Okay, there we go.
Hey, that's my partner Grant over in the UK.
Oh, all right. What's
How've
up,
you
man?
been?
All good, man?
Pretty good for the most part. Ups and downs just like everybody else, I suppose.
It's good to see you still out there and doing your thing, though, right?
Well, trying to, try to stay busy, and music is, it's pretty much forever in one way or another. So,
Cool. I won't keep it too long. We'll just jump right in if you want.
okay.
Let's talk about Disciples of Verity. New single, Break the Cycle, is out. What's been the response to it so far? It's been pretty good.
Yeah, so far it's been pretty good. I haven't really heard anybody say anything bad, which is usually good, I suppose. But yeah, it's been pretty positive so far.
Okay. Disciples of Verity is described as a new breed of crossover metal, blending genres and backgrounds. If you could invite a non-metal artist from a completely different genre to collaborate with you guys, who would it be?
Is this like a fantasy question, or is this an actual like somebody living?
You could do whatever you want to do, man. It's your show.
I would say Prince if I could. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Somebody like a fantastic songwriter like a Prince or like Stevie Wonder or something like that. Somebody that's like so insanely good at songwriting that it would be just amazing to work with them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That would be great. What's been the writing process like for this sort of for Disciples of Verity? Because you guys are all songwriters in your own right. Is it a collaborative effort?
It is a collaborative effort. I think it just depends on the song. Sometimes dudes will have certain riffs or certain ideas in mind, and then once everybody else hears them, they'll be like, "Okay, I like this" or "I like that." I think you know, um, it's definitely collaborative, and then sometimes just like any other situation, certain dudes will have more ideas in one song than another because they just get into maybe an idea flow or something like that. So it's usually what happens. I find in most situations.
Do you guys find any pressure to be a certain thing because you're all coming from successful side projects or other projects?
Um, I don't really think so. No. I think it was just like, okay, well, we were a group of people that wanted to write some music together, and obviously it's different than the projects that we come from, but I don't think there was any pressure per se. I think I think doing this project was actually less pressure because everybody just kind of is friendly and we get along, and I didn't really feel any pressure. I just felt like, okay, this is something we want to do, so we just went ahead and did it.
Fair enough. Grant?
Yeah. With Disciples of Verity, obviously, Pragmatic Sanction, the last album, that was very, very metal. But some of the, kind of the past projects that Corey Glover had done, he's got a lot of like different elements coming in. Is the new Disciples of Verity album going to be more? I don't know how to put this. is it like straight down the line metal, or have we got like a lot of kind of different kind of musical elements coming in the way that, for example, Ultraphonics album was, there was a lot of heavy jazz influence in there. Like, is it, I don't know, like, I guess, what can we expect that's a bit kind of off the wall with it, if anything?
I don't know that it's necessarily off the wall per se. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of very groovy and very melodic, and I don't know that it's necessarily straight line metal, whatever that may mean. um, but it's the record itself is pretty like it's all pretty dark in feel and in nature, but it's not any particular thing I think like that you could say, okay, this is very thrashy or this is very this or that. You know, it's not really like that. It was just kind of like, all right, this is what feels right for this song, and this is what it needs, and we just kind of went with that. We didn't really try to, you know, piece together anything in like a certain way. Like, okay, this needs to have this kind of riff in it, or it needs to be this kind of, style in order for the song to work. It was kind of like, okay, well, what's the song need? In any given section, and that's kind of how we looked at it. Um, I don't think it was any specific design to make it like it needs to be this thrashy or this kind of heavy or any of that. It's just kind of like, okay, what's the best suiting, parts for this song? What's going to make it the most complete? And that's kind of the way I think we all thought about it. Was no kind of like, all right, we're gonna make a Judas Priest album, or we're gonna
Right.
kind of make it, like a haunted record where it's super or anything like that. It was a little bit more open idea wise than that, I think.
Do you worry
Oh,
that your
man.
fans are not going to take the journey with you because it is a bit different, or do you not even concern yourself with that and create and hope they do?
I mean, I don't think that you can concern yourself with that. If that starts to be your concern, then you're not really making the music you want to make. You're just kind of trying to, you know, follow some sort of trend or idea in order to get people to like you. And I don't know. I don't really come from that school of thought. Like, I want to be happy with the music that I make first, and I think everybody else in the band feels that way. Like, you want to be happy with what you're doing, and then if other people are happy with it after that, then so be it. If not, you can't. You can't really force people to like what you're doing.
Right. That makes sense. Grant?
Awesome. No, I would just want to hark back to your last answer there because you mentioned the Haunted, and I'm a massive, massive Haunted fan, and a lot of the rhythm work
Mm.
on the last Disciples of Verity album did remind me a lot of the Haunted. It's like that kind of the sort of funky intensity. Um, I don't know. I guess because, speaking as somebody from across the pond, obviously, we see the news and we've seen a lot of intensity in the American media and what's been going on over there. Thematically speaking, is there anything going on with the new album that relates to what's gone on in the States in the last few years, regarding politics and, racial tensions and, what looks like a crazy fucking situation from somebody that's sitting 5,000 miles away?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is a crazy fucking situation. um, I mean, I think the general mode of a lot of the topics of the album are basically about that. Most of the album, like I said, is pretty dark, and it's about looking at the terrible things that go on around us and figuring out, a way to come together to not only survive it but to move forward through it. So, I mean, especially when you have guys that are older, you're always gonna your surroundings and what's going on in your country, whether it's politically or closer to home, are going to always end up into the music. It's inevitable, I think. It's a part of your life, and the older you get, obviously you become more concerned with those things because you're also because we're kind of like with social media and everything like that. More people, you see everything all the time. You're bombarded by it. You're entrenched in it all the time. So I think it's always going to affect the music that you write in some capacity. But yes, for sure, it's affected the new music a lot. I mean, I think a lot of the subject matter is about, um, not just the political nature, but just the personal side of the political things that are going on. How people can come together, because it's a lot of politics and things like that causes a lot of separation between people, and ultimately, I think the citizenry has to figure out a ways to come together, because politics is always separating. But who really benefits from that, right?
Not
The
us.
same people that always benefit. The top 1 or 2% of people who have the most benefit from us squabbling all the time and not really paying attention fully to what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Do you feel a sense of responsibility then to your listeners or to your audience to kind of bring that point home? Or are you just speaking from the gut?
I think it's more about coming from the gut, and then people are going to relate or they're not going to relate. Once again, it's like I don't think that you can put it on your shoulders and say, "Hey, I'm going to educate you about what's going on in the world." You can only tell, speak from what you're experiencing, and then hope that people identify with it.
Do you worry about your political statements or your political involvement, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is there? Do you worry about putting out your own political beliefs?
I don't really think that it comes across like that in the music, because it doesn't come across as directly political. I don't think. I think that worrying about what people are going to think about what you say when you put it into the world. I mean, I think on some level you can worry about that. Like, you're not trying to be overly aggressive and trying to pull anybody one direction or another. But like I said, you can just speak from your mind and speak, from your heart and your experiences, and hopefully people will identify. And if they don't, I mean, you can't force them.
Right. Grant?
Awesome. I mean, obviously, because we've got Corey from Living Color in there, it's again, a lot of my stuff comes from a much, much broader musical background than just metal. What's the intention with kind of touring and marketing the band? Because obviously, with Living Color, Corey's got his fingers in with WWE and wrestling and that kind of thing. Is there anything kind of in the pipeline for Disciples of Verity that's going to kind of cross those, not even genre boundaries, but like artistic boundaries into like other areas, be it like I say, stage show or kind of different mediums that you want to try and enter into with it?
I mean, not now, not as of yet. I mean, we haven't really discussed anything like that. I mean, it's really hard to figure out what we're going to do next. As you know, like Corey's doing, Living Color. He has a bunch of other projects. I'm doing God Forbid stuff, writing a new album with God Forbid. I also manage 2 bands. So everybody has a lot going on. So those kind of questions haven't really come up. At some point, we're just, "Oh, okay, we want to play some live shows. We'll figure out, what we're going to do." And as far as, jumping to other sort of outside music ideas as far as marketing or where the band wants to land, we haven't really discussed that. I think those are opportunities that just kind of come into your field, and then you decide on whether you're going to do them or not. I don't know that there's necessarily like a game plan always where it's like, okay, well, let's try to do some, music for wrestling or music for cartoons. Like, usually those are opportunities that are presented to you, or maybe you can, sometimes like video games or something like that, you might go after it, but we haven't really discussed that as of yet.
Okay.
How did working with Sahaj Tickerton push you out of your comfort zone, or did it?
Um, I think it pushes you out of your comfort zone because basically you're putting your sort of creative desires aside to a certain extent, and you're kind of relying on somebody else's vision to sort of put things together in a way that they see the music being. So obviously that takes some trust, and you're not going to agree on everything, but
Right.
brought this person in to kind of rely on what they typically do stylistically. So for me, it wasn't that big a deal. He didn't really tell me too much when we were in there. You know, occasionally like, okay, play this accent on this note, or play this crash here, or
Right.
give me a longer fill. Like he didn't really tell me to do anything that I wasn't really already doing. So um, it didn't affect me much at all in that regard. We got along great. He made some suggestions. I said okay. And there was like, it wasn't like a lot of stuff. It was like, hey, can you do this crash here? Sure.
Right.
And we just move right along. You know what I mean? So it wasn't too crazy for me. I can't really speak for the other guys, but for me, it was fairly, it was pretty smooth going. I don't think it was that much of a push out of the comfort zone, other than I said, just being able to, relying on somebody else's vision a
Right.
little bit and putting your faith in what they see and hear to move forward. But it all went pretty well.
All right, Grant.
Awesome. In relation to the new album, again, it's obviously the last Disciples album. The single that came out had Jeff Loomis from Arch Enemy in it. Is there anything, any surprises on the new album in relation to any guest musicians or kind of, anybody that's contributed anything out of the core band?
No, no. I mean, the first album was kind of like that, more so because Disciples of Verity wasn't really technically supposed to be a band. It was just supposed to be a project. So all these people got called in to kind of jump into it on the first album, right? So when originally, everybody got together, um, it was kind of like, all right, everybody's in this band. It wasn't really that idea. It was like, hey, George, through mutual friends, spoke to Glover, and Glover wanted to do something heavy, then heavier than he had done before, and it kind of just became this amalgamation of people in order to produce this product, that there was a vision of, as opposed to this album where we sat down and just, all right, these guys are in this band. This is what we're planning on doing, and then let's just let it evolve from there. So, it's completely different kind of writing situation, from the first album. So nothing, no crazy surprises.
Okay.
Are you planning on taking this out on the road as Disciples of Verity?
I mean, we'd like to at some point, just as I
Schedules.
said, it's all about scheduling and, just getting things to line up the right way. So hopefully it'll happen. That's what we'd like at some point.
Grant, you got anything else?
Not right now, dude. I'm just having a look to see if there's anything else that I want to chuck in there. Obviously, I've got my usual closing question. So
Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
yeah, this is usually a closer for me, Corey, because myself and Bruce also run a little segment through Brutally Delicious called Heavy Hearts, where we discuss mental health in the arts. We're all guys of a certain age, and there's a little bit of an epidemic in relation to dark thoughts and bad mental health amongst, guys from the 30s and the 40s upwards.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody listening, like that are fans of, yourself, be that Disciples or be that, God forbid, what would you say to any of your fans and listeners out there that might be, kind of struggling with what's going on in here a little bit?
Well, I could relate to that. I mean, I think, anybody that, reaches a certain age and you have to deal with certain responsibilities as well as you're trying to, live this kind of lifestyle. I mean, all I can say is, like, if you start to feel down, you need to find somebody to talk to, whether it's a friend or your wife or whomever. Don't ball the shit up inside. That is probably the worst thing to do. Other than that, you just have to take it step by step and control what you can control, and realize the stuff that's out of your control. You may think about it, but it can't be a focal point to your life. You'll drive yourself insane. You can't do that. So all you can do is try to be the best person that you can be from one day to the next. That's how I look at things. If not, I think you find yourself just, kind of running yourself down about things that you can't really do anything about. There's no positive direction in that, from what I've learned.
Fair enough.
Nice one. Very, very much along the same lines as the kind of the themes behind the lyrics for Thread the Needle. I love that. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, Corey. Good seeing you again.
You too, man.
Good luck
great
with
to hear
everything.
from you.
You get down to Virginia. Let's do something again.
Absolutely. I would love to.
All right, man. Be well. Good luck.
Take it easy.
Cheers.
Take it easy, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Take it easy, man.
And